Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss Western models of communication. What are models? Models are visual representation of the communication process. And why communication models are important? Because first, it provides input for setting a standard communication system. Second, it ensures effective communication in an organization. And third, they are conceptual methods that are used to explain human communication process. So basically, models of communication visually helps to represent the process of communication or interaction in day-to-day life. As we are discussing Western models of communication, it is necessary to understand Aristotle's rhetoric, as major Western models of communication are originated from Aristotle's rhetoric. According to Aristotle, a speaker's ability to persuade an audience is based on how well the speakers appeal to that audience in three different elements. Before understanding these three elements, let's understand how Aristotle is talking about the power of persuasion. The reason we communicate is because we want to persuade people. We want to persuade people because it helps us to get what we desire. We desire to be trusted by others. We desire to be listened and understood by others. We desire to have an influence on others. And to have all this, we need to communicate in an effective manner. For example, persuasion can range from children asking their parents to buy them a new toy to politician asking votes from the citizen. So this effective way of communication can be done if we focus on these three elements. First, the speaker, the one who is speaking, that is ethos in Greek. Ethos means character. Second, the speech, what is being spoken, which has some logic, that is logos, meaning logic or reason in Greek. And third, the listener, the one who is listening to the speaker and the speech and having some emotion, which is causing some emotion in the mind of the listener, which is pathos. Pathos is passion in Greek. This is Aristotle's rhetorical triangle. The three corners of this triangle represents the three elements of Aristotle's rhetoric. Let's see each one of them in detail. First, ethos, that is character. It is about credibility and trust. It is about personal branding. It is about how one has the confidence in delivering the message. It is about citing credible sources in the speech. And all these things will make the person who is delivering the speech a credible person, a trustworthy person. For example, when Prime Minister is delivering a speech, here the speech has importance, but what is more important is Prime Minister himself or herself or themselves. It is about the person who is delivering it, a person with authority, credibility, trust, a personality which is looked upon by a lot of people in the country. So it is an example of ethos. Second, logos, that is logic. It is about the structure of the speech, the opening, the body, the conclusion, the format, we can say. It is about the references to studies, statistics, case studies, comparison, analogies, and metaphors. For example, let's take this sentence. A research found that 25,000 tons of plastic waste in the ocean due to COVID 19 has caused harm to marine life and environment. This statement, this research is logical. And why so? Because it has 25,000 tons of plastic waste written on it. It has a statistics. It has a number which helps us to compare the situation right now and previously. Another example we can take is comparing GDP growth rate of different political parties during their rule. So it is about comparison of how each of these political parties have performed. Lastly, pathos, that is passion, emotion, or values. We can see that in stories. It is about inspirational quotes. It has a vivid language. For example, a filmmaker, a author, a painter, an artist, all of their works touches the heart of the audience, and it shows the passion of the artist. And this transfer of emotion from one person to another is pathos. The first model of communication is the Laswell model of communication process by Harold D. Laswell, the American political scientist. His model is most widely quoted and also provides the definition of mass communication in terms of Aristotle's rhetoric. He stated that a convenient way to describe an act of communication is to answer who says what, in which channel, to whom, with what effect. This, in his article, The Structure and Function of Communication in Society in 1948. It is about how the communicator is sending the message in some medium which is being received by the receiver with some effect. That is the Laswell model of communication. Now let's see the functions of this model. First, the surveillance of the environment, that is trying to understand the nature of the communication. Second, that is understanding the correlation of the components of society. That is how one thing is related to another. Third, the structural transmission between generation, that is how a message or lesson is being transferred or passed on from one generation to another, and understanding this exchange. So these are the functions. The second model of communication is the Shannon and Weaver model of communication, which was proposed in the year 1948 by Claude Shannon and Werner Weaver. In the article A Mathematical Theory of Communication, the model helped to understand and improve communication via telephone. The model starts with the sender of the information, the source, the one who is sharing the information. For example, a news reporter will choose what to say and what not to say before the telecast begins. This message will be transferred to a transmitter, an encoder, that is a person or a machine which converts the message into signals, which will be further sent to the receiver. For example, how the telephone converts our voice into binary ones and zeros. These signals will be sent to the channel. Channel is an infrastructure that gets the information from the sender transmitter, and then it is sent to the receiver and the destination itself. For example, a person is sending an email using the World Wide Web, internet. That's our medium. Channel is the medium. So while we are sending the message, there are chances that there will be noise. Noise is nothing but interruption which might cause difficulty in understanding the message. There can be two types of noise. First, external noise which is not in the control of the sender of information. That is noise of traffic, noise of crowd, noise of loudspeakers. And internal, which can be controlled by the sender of the information. That is spelling mistakes or accent or internal confusion whether one should share this information or not, and how to. This will be sent to the receiver where decoding is done, which is completely opposite of encoding, where these signals will turn into the sound, where binary digits will turn into a visual, is what receiver does. And finally, it is reached to the person or the receiver, that is our destination. The third model of communication is the Osgood and Schramm circular model. Previously, we have seen in the Shannon and Weaver model. As you can see, this model is in linear form. Later, A mathematician, Norbert Wiener, added an element of feedback. It made this model into a circular form, just like what Osgood and Sherman did here, where person A is sending a message to person B and B is receiving the message, understanding, interpreting that message, and sending another message to the person A. And this sending and receiving of message is a never-ending process of communication. Finally, the fourth model of communication is Berlow's model of communication, where David Berlows emphasizes on encoding and decoding of the message, where these elements, source, message, channel, and the receivers, are given importance. Where the source is the person who has or they have a communication skills, a set of communication skills, attitudes, knowledge, in what social system they live in what culture they live in. The message is passed by content, it's encoded by content, elements, how that message is treated, the structure of the message, the code. This is Aristotle's rhetoric. The channel, how it is heard, seeing, touching, smelling, tasting, the five senses, and how it is decoded by the receiver, what communication skills they have, attitudes, knowledge, and what social system and culture they live in. That's what Berlow's model of communication. Sometimes Berlow's model of communication is also known as bucket theory of communication, wherein they say ideas are dumped from the source into a bucket, such as a film, a lecture, a book. I added a Netflix series and shipped the bucket over to the receiver and dumped the contents into their head. It means too much information is dumped in a bucket and then dumped out in the heads. And like it's like rote learning in exams. It takes lots of time writing, making the information, and also the decoding of the message also, because Berlow is trying to focus on how that message is sent and received with its full credibility, its full element. It's what Berlow's model of communication is trying to tell us. So we have seen four models of communication which were introduced in mid-90s. In recent years, the focus has shifted from mechanistic effect models of communication to experience. The focus is both verbal and non-verbal. Sign system semiotics, that is body language. Understanding the meaning of sign, understanding the relationship between the sign, user, and external reality. For example, how the society is assigning meanings to emojis. So we can say finally it is not only about words, gestures, or symbols, but it is about the context, cultural interpretations, and experience. I'll say it is more about how we comprehend a message than the message itself. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Thank you, and please subscribe if you want to get more videos just like this. Thank you.